Hello, guys. Good morning. This Wednesday morning. I am here, unfortunately, tied up with work. Um, I traveled on Monday after our training, and so I'm not able to be with you physically. I wanted to do an online live class, but based on my schedule for today, there are high chances that I may be in transit or may not be able to focus and give you the best. And so Naomi and I concluded that I should send in a video, and I'll keep this as short as possible. So we basically are going to be talking about pitch decking today, and I've watched your pitch decks. So what we're going to try to do is that I'll give you an overview and some tips that I have. Then Naomi has sent me your pitch decks. I would do a one-on-one personal review and send each of you what my feedback is. So now that's number one and three. Number two would be immediately after this, watching this video, Naomi would run through an overview of every single pitch deck and based on some of the things that I state here. So please, while you're watching this, you can just go ahead and write the points that I pick out so that you can, and then you also go on the internet and do your own study so that you can learn as much as possible, gain as much as possible. I'll be talking about this in two different sections. The first section is the best practices for preparing a pitch deck. The best practices for preparing a pitch deck. Now, first, let's start with what's a pitch deck. A pitch deck is a presentation that provides you with a brief but informative overview of your business, that provides people, your listeners, with a brief but very informative overview of your business. You will be focusing on the key points, the financials, and the needs. Now, none of these things are strange to you because we have consistently been talking about them. And so I expect that you should be familiar with some of them by now. Yeah, so focusing on key points of your business, the financials of your business, and the needs of your business. Now, this is the interesting part. What is the goal of a pitch deck? I saw this on TopTal. TopTal states, and I like it, that the goal of your pitch deck is not to get money. That sounds counterintuitive, but the goal of your pitch deck is not to make money. The goal of your pitch deck is to get you the next, is to get you the next meeting, right? Is to get you into the next meeting hall. So you want to be able to meet again with the people that you are presenting to, or to an angel investor, or to a main investor, right? And so you need that pitch deck. That is why you're pitch decking. It is not for you to get money at that instant. You want to be able to get inside and sit down now one-on-one with these people and talk. And at that point, you may even get proposals that are beyond your wildest imagination. So that's the goal of a pitch deck. Please put that in your mind. Your goal is not to get money. What are the most important slides that you should have or must have in your pitch deck? The first slide is your, or the first most important slide. Whether you could decide to rearrange, but these are the core slides that you should have. You should be able to tell people that you're pitching in front of them. Number one is vision and value proposition. It is important that you're able to clarify what your vision is, and it's important that you're able to state what your unique value proposition is. We have spent at least the last 3 hours talking about value proposition, so I don't think it's going to be difficult for you to be able to craft a simple, clear, and informative value proposition that gives you the impetus to run and gives your listeners or your readers a clear idea of what your business does, what your startup does. The slide number two is that, or the second most important slide, is that you must have a slide that talks about the problem. You remember I talked about the pain points. You should be able to put yourself in the shoes of your users and know exactly what their problem is. You are not solving your own problem, you're solving their problem, and so you cannot solve it the way it is in your head. You have to solve it the way it is paining them. Yeah, so you be able to state exactly what the pain points are. Number three is you need target, a slide that talks about the target market and the opportunity. Yeah, I'm sure you notice that I'm running a little fast. So, and the good part is that this is a video, so you can go back and play it again. You need a slide that talks about the target market, and the opportunity. Now, target market is also the customer segments that we talked about. So, who are you trying to sell to? In particular, have you identified them? Do you know exactly who they are? Who are these people that you're trying to sell to? Tell us who they are as clearly as possible and as precise as possible. And then you tell us what the opportunity is in selling to them. Is the market large enough? That we call this addressable market. Is the market large enough for you to be able to make a profit, a good profit, selling, and a continuous good profit, not just a one-time good profit, selling to them? Number 4 slide that is very important is your solution. So you've told us what the problem is, and we know who the target market is, but you have a slide that talks about the solution. Now, the solution is not your unique value proposition. I'm repeating this 1,000 times. You've heard me say this in class. And mind you, we've already talked about a slide that has to do with unique value proposition. Your solution is now you have designed a particular product, you've packaged it, and you're saying, okay, this is it, is this website that will be able to provide this unique value proposition and solve this problem. So that's what your solution is. So you have a slide that talks about your solution, or possibly solutions, should in case you have more than one customer segment or more than one problem that you're trying to solve. Then you need a slide that talks about your revenue model. Your revenue model talks about what costs. What are you going to be spending? Maybe to suppliers. What are you going to be spending to designers, your partners' salaries, your recurrent expenditure, your variable expenditure? We're going to talk about that when we do financials. You need a slide that talks about that, the cost. And then you need a slide, together with this, preferably, you need to also show how revenue will be coming in, the monies that will be coming into your business. That's a revenue model, in and out. And like I told you, I drew a diagram that the in should be able to outweigh the out. Even if not immediately, you should be able to project and say in the next 3 years, our in is going to be outweighing our out. That shows that your business has the potential to return profit for your investors. Number 6 slide is the traction and validation. Now, this talks about your sales and your proof of concept. So Sanusi talked about the minimum viable product, the MVP. So this is where comes in. You can state that, okay, look, you see, this was our MVP. We have started, and then these are the sales that we've made. That talks of traction, and we've made these sales in the last 3 months. And because we did this in the last 3 months, if we put in 100,000 euros in marketing, we should be able to penetrate northern Nigeria and have this over the next 2 years, right? So yeah, you're looking at what you've done, and then you've tested your MVP. You're looking at what you've done, and then you are now projecting towards the future. What are the things that you now need to? What are your projections that you hopefully will be able to get? That's your traction and validation. The 7th slide is your marketing and sales. A lot of people try to ignore marketing. They think that they can just simply assume that people are going to continue coming. No. You're going to have a marketing model. Are you going to be using social media? Will you use billboards? We talked about this also. Will you use billboards? Will you use radio? Depends on. And then the question of what sort of marketing should you use? Especially when we use the Lean Model Canvas, we talked about the channels. What sort of channels should you use for marketing? The answer is depends on who the customer is, right? So that also determines your cost. If your customers are elderlies, who you know that the way you can get across to them is by when they are watching news at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, then you probably need to use television ads. Now that skyrockets your cost. But if you're going to be using pay-per-clicks on social media, you're probably targeting people in their mid-age range, at least for now, before we get older and depend on televisions. Well, I doubt we won't depend on televisions. We may just continue our social media. Our children will have something else. Number 8 slide is your team. We highlighted this, but not in detail. I hope to get the opportunity to talk about your team better. Your team is, you're not going to be talking about everybody, not necessarily your employees, but the core people that are important to the growth of your business. Who are these people? You should be able to state them. And this was what I said last time, that please don't just jump into creating a team because you like somebody. In fact, one of the worst teams you can have is employing your friends. Yeah, your friends, your family members, that's one of the worst teams that you can have, in my opinion, in my very strong opinion and from some experience. Now, it's possible that there are exceptions to this rule because there's nothing that's absolutely 100% correct. So it is possible for people to build teams that they have strong emotional and friendship bonds with. But personally, one of the worst teams you can try to build is, okay, I know, so Naomi is my friend now. Naomi, come and be our marketing agent. Oh, yeah, Tunde is my younger brother. Come and be the person in charge of finances. It will look as if it's smooth sailing at first because your cost will be low, until when it's no longer smooth sailing. My opinion, and please let me put that in emphasis, my opinion. Number 9, you're going to you must have a slide that talks about your financials. Now, you will see this when we talk about financials better. But talking about financials means also the ins and the outs. If you're taking a loan, it's an in. You're taking a loan, it's an in, and then you're paying loans, it's an out. Right? But you should be able to state, okay, this is the condition of the financials at the moment. This is possibility for the next 6 months, possibility for the next 1 year, for the next 18 months, for the next 24 months, 36 months, and so on. You must have a slide that clearly states whether you are positioned to make a profit. There's a point where we call a break-even point. A break-even point is a point where, look, at this point, everything that has to do with the static capital has been we're able to catch up with it, and then from this point we can say there's just cost and revenue, and then revenue is creating profit at the end of the day for the business. Slide number 10 is you must be able to state who your competition is. There is nothing called a business that has no competition. So I remember reading that one of the reasons why companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi decided to go into is it Pepsi or 7-Up bottling company, right? So that the producers of Pepsi decided to go into production of water, bottled water, is because bottled water was competing with their drinks. When people go to a restaurant and buy bottled water, they won't need a bottle of Coke, and then the ads about living healthy, don't consume too much processed sugar and all that, was affecting them. And so if you notice, you go to restaurants, you see ads like you see a plate of semo, and then beside they'll say it goes better with Coke, right? So they're trying to encourage you, if I just buy Coke, forget that water thing. But they also needed to now create their own bottled water brand so that they don't lose that. So you see, that's an indirect competition, but it was still competition. I stated something very strategic in last class. I said that one of the key questions you need to ask yourself is, how are people presently solving the need? So if people are already solving your need before you come in, then how are they solving it? Don't assume that you are the alpha and omega of solutions. People are already solving the problems, and so you must find a way to know what those solutions are and state them clearly as competition, both direct and indirect. Direct competition are businesses and people who are doing exactly what you're doing. Indirect are those who may not be doing the same thing, but their products and their services is a replacement for yours. So you can see how egg can replace fish or pork or beef, right? You can see how that works. And then the last slide, for what are the most important slides that you must have, is your investment and use of funds. So you're asking for $10,000. What are you going to use it for? A lot of people who build, we've been talking about this with the Collab team. A lot of people who build startups are thinking of selling and just running away. It's always a cash out. No, not always, but for a lot of people in Nigeria, it's a cash out. They're trying to do something that will be successful so that they will be bought over for $1 million. And I don't hammer. Go and buy an SUV and rent a house at Lekki, right? And you're a big man, at least for a period of time, until when you now need to create another product. So there's really no continuity. There's no desire to sustain. I once read the founder of Binance say that he never did Binance for money. In fact, he thought it was just going to be an experiment. He just needed an MVP out there, and he wanted to be among the top 5 platform for cryptocurrency transactions, and within 6 months he was already number one, and they've been number one for the last several years, and now he is considered a billionaire, right? But it is not about the money. He can let go of the billionaire tag and still move on as a founder. So we need to now be able to prove that to people that you're talking and you're pitching before, that if I get this level of investment, this is what I intend to do with it, and this is what I don't intend to do with it. It must be, these things are seed capital. You know, what you do with a seed is that you plant it. It's not the time to marry a second wife. It's not the time to change your vehicle to the latest in town. It is not the time to dress in the best ways possible. No, it is seed capital. Please plant it. It's not harvest. Right? It is seed capital. There's a lot I have to say about that, but that does for you. So the 11 slides that you must have, if you don't have any other slides, you must have these 11 slides. You can add up 2-3 slides to each of these, but you must have these. You must talk about this: your vision and value proposition, the problem, the target market and opportunity, the solution, the revenue model, in and out, the traction and validation, marketing and sales, team, financials, competition, and investment and use of funds. Those are your key, most important slides. Then the next thing I'd like to talk about is just 5 more points on presentation. Now you're standing before people and you're presenting. Please, you need to understand that it's not everybody that has both the graciousness and the skill, the training to be able to stand and articulate themselves as clearly as possible. For many of us, that's taken us several years, several years of speaking before we could say, okay, look, do you know what? I have the confidence to be able to stand before anybody and speak. So do not beat yourself up too hard if you are not able to show presentation prowess. Your core things are if you're able to present your business. That's actually what we're concerned about. So while many of you were pitching the other time, I was more concerned about what you were stating in your slides and how you're able to explain, show that you understand your concepts, than about whether you're a good orator. Those are two different things. In fact, I remember telling some of the judges that please, they should note that it is not about how well somebody presents or how beautiful his slides look. We have to know what the businesses can actually do, what's the potential. But while they're presenting, what are the 5 most important, in my opinion, things that you must note? Number 1 is that you should anticipate questions. Please do not go into presentations blindly. Run through the entire presentation and ask yourself the questions that somebody may ask you, as many as possible. You do that, there are high chances that you would have answers prepared already before people will point out what those answers. If you ask yourself a question and you can't find the answer and the thing is in your slide, then remove that particular point, because somebody may just pick it up and the person says it and you will like, I never thought about that, and you look incompetent. Number 1, please anticipate questions. Number 2, provide realistic projections. Don't go and say we're going to make, right now we're making 75,000 naira, but if you give us $5,000, we will start making $240,000 from 75,000 naira. You won't make 240,000 naira. I'm telling you, even by the grace of God, you're not going to make 240,000, right? Even if you did that, it's not going to be sustainable. How are you going to be able to prove that this is something that is workable and something that is sustainable? Where are you going to get the cash flow of the thousands of dollars that you're calling? It is not. It's not impossible for a business to grow for 75,000 at $250,000. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you're not going to go and be making projections that you will make that jump in the next 3 months, or you will make that jump in the next 1 year. You're probably going to be able to do that in 4 or 5 years of putting in funding, running a business. Yes, it's possible to have such huge levels of dramatic growth, but not at an instant, as some of us often. It's always, people say that it's always sweeter seeing it on paper. It looks as if, this thing, if I enter this thing, I'll go hammer. To when you get into it, right? Number 3, while you are presenting, don't forget to tell a story. This is where your unfair advantage can come to play, can play in your advantage, where don't focus so much about the technicalities. Human beings are attuned to stories, and so find a way to tell them a story that encapsulates your point, or at least introduces your point. So the moment you tell people that some years ago, I started out trying to find, I went to a hotel and I discovered that the locks were not customized. And so I thought to myself, this is not secure for people if they can program it at the so and so. What about if it is possible the cards that they'll give you to unlock your door? What about if they will give you the access for you to just go to your email and click a link and then you can create your own unique lock? And I go there and I put it on the blah 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 and then it unlocks. It would make me feel more safe, that I am better secured in in an unfamiliar environment than if somebody else were to do the programming for me. You see that's honestly, I just framed that up in my head. I don't know whether it's realistic or it should be done. I don't even know if it's a problem. Now, and then because of that, I now decided to go and learn HTML. And from my experience of programming, I discovered that I can use so and so and so and do so and so and so and so and so. So I experimented it and now I have my house. And when I did it, I noticed that my friends wanted it. And I've been able to sell this product to 50 people in the last 3 months. Now, even you right now are captivated. Believe me, as I'm saying, I'm captivated. Even you are captivated right now. And then you can now tell people that now I think that there's a market here. There are people who want to feel safer. There are hotels that want to prove to people that they are safe in their locations. And so we can sell this product and market it. If we have $10,000, we can do so and so and so. Now you see, then you now go into the technical aspect of a business. Not just you come and start telling us that keys are a problem. Somebody like, hey, come on. Tell a story. Number 4, do your homework. Your homework is the 11 points that I mentioned earlier. Please go sit down, do your homework. Don't write a full screen of text and come and be reading for us. You could have just sent us the email or send us a Microsoft Word document for us to read in 5 minutes. All right, don't come and be reading for us. Do your homework so that you can focus only on key points. You see some of the slides that we use at Collab. You see that you just see 1 line, 2 lines. You won't see where we're reading. I think in all the slides I've done presented for you, at best, if I've read, maybe I've read 2 lines or 3 lines. You won't see us reading, and all that. It's something that is very minimalist, that you can just see, know what this person is talking about, and then listen to the person. That's what a slide should look like. Do your homework. Number 5, use a professional deck. Now, the deck is the platform that you use to create it, right? There are quite a number. The first one, I think this one is a paid deck that you can buy. Envato. ENVATO. You can ask Naomi to help you out with that. You can use Envato. You can use Canva. And even on PowerPoint has a design section right at the almost top right hand corner of your screen. If you click on that designer icon, it will keep changing the designs of what you have on screen so that you can have the most preferred presentation. And so what that does is that it helps you to have something visual that communicates in a very minimalist and very clear way. If you cannot do any of these, then pay someone. Come to Collab. We have people that you can pay and then they will provide slides for you. Please don't think because you have PowerPoint on your laptop, you can just throw out whatever you want to do, and then because you're presenting before people and these people care about they care about their eyes. All right, so just trying to lighten that things up. So these are the things that I have for you. If I was there, this is what I would have presented for you. I would receive your slides. I actually have received them and I'm going to read through every single one of them. I think I'll just simply print them so that I can have feedback for each one of you and maybe written out and then giving back to you. So with these, please, I would like you now to sit with Naomi and run through whatever content that you have at the moment so that she can help you say, okay, look, you see, this can be made better, this can be made better. And then you see that at the end of the day, these trainings are actually the harvest. You discover that you're gaining much more being able to be a part of these trainings than if you had not been. If you have questions, please just pass them to Naomi and she's going to send it to me. In fact, I would strongly encourage questions. She's going to send me those questions. Thank you for your time. It has been an awesome time speaking to you.